For a few moments. Treat them like a meditation. Notice your breath. Notice the sensations in your body. In these yin poses, we want to try our best to find stillness. And the reason is so that we can work into our deep tissues. So this whole practice is all about deep tissue stretching. So by holding for a few minutes as we do, we're accessing those deep tissues. So in this pose, you may feel sensations in your hips, maybe even in your inner thighs, or even along your arms. Just remembering it's going to be a little bit different for each and every one of us, and that just is what it is. As long as you're feeling something, you're doing it. And that's all that matters. And throughout holding the pose, the sensations may also change. It could get more intense maybe, or less intense. The temperature could change. There's definitely lots of things that could change. So notice if there's anything like that comes up. Good. Let's go ahead and take 5 deep breaths to complete this pose. Making sure they're full, deep breaths. There's no rush. And after you've completed your 5th breath, to come out of the pose, we're going to move very slowly to bring ourselves to a tabletop position. So very slow, micro movements throughout this practice. So in a tabletop position, our palms are directly below our shoulders. Good. Our knees are directly below our hips. And just hold here for a moment. Since we are working into our deep tissues and stressing those tissues, we want to give our body some time to adjust. Hence the slow movements and generally the counter poses that we'll do. So this is kind of a counter pose. to adjust. If you maybe felt that your feet were falling asleep, that was happening to me. If you need to, you can tuck your toes underneath right now. And then untuck them. You could do that a few times if you'd like. Good. And on an inhale, we're going to make our way into a cow pose, dropping your belly, bringing your chin towards the front. And then exhale, bring your chin to your chest, cat pose. Taking a few rounds like that, following the breath. We're just warming up the spine. Good. And when you're ready, just finding stillness in that tabletop position. And from here, we're going to slowly make our way onto our belly, allowing your legs to go long. We're going to come into two options that you have. It's either Sphinx pose. So in Sphinx, your forearms are on the mat, your palm on the mat, your elbow directly below your shoulders. And in Sphinx, we're arching the spine to help bring energy to the spine. The only slightly awkward thing is if you don't have any issues with your neck, then we're going to bring our head and neck forward. If you feel like this is a major strain on your neck, it's okay to hold your head up high, that's fine. So that's option one. You can also try it while I describe option two, which is seal pose, bringing your palms on the mat below your shoulders. So we're arching maybe a little bit more than in seal pose. This is a lower back compression. So you might feel a dull, achy pain in, well, it shouldn't be a pain, but like a dull ache in your lower back area. And again, in this pose and seal, we are going to arch our head and neck forward. So wherever you are, close your eyes. Good. If for any reason you want to try seal and then come into Sphinx, that's fine. Just making sure you move very slowly. With your eyes closed, the reason we do this is to focus, to help bring focus rather. Simply by removing one of the senses. And while you're in this pose, just noticing what comes up for you. And if at any point you start to feel distracted, guide yourself back to your inhale and exhale. Making sure to take some deep breaths. These poses help us access our organs. And what I mean by that is in each pose we're gently massaging our internal organs. And so when we're breathing deeply, we can bring more oxygen to those areas. And in these sets of poses in Seal and Sphinx, we're accessing our urinary bladder meridian, our kidney, our stomach, and our spleen meridians. So it's a good thing you're doing for yourself. And let's go ahead and take 5 deep breaths. Making sure you take your time. Good, and after your 5th breath, very slowly bringing your chest down and your arms forward to rest your chin on. We'll hold here. Being sure you're relaxing your body. Notice if you're gripping anywhere in the body. Like holding any sort of stress. As an example, when I was coming down out of this pose, I noticed I was gripping in my glutes. Sometimes we hold stress in our jaw, our shoulders. These are just some examples of areas to check on. Good. And from here, bend at the knees, bringing your feet towards the ceiling. And then start to windshield wiper your feet from side to side. Good. Helping extend and stretch out the lower back. Good. And then finding stillness here, releasing your legs long again. And bring your arms to a T and place your left cheek on the mat. Good. From here, bending the right knee towards your right elbow. We'll hold here for a few breaths. Opening up the right hip. So you may notice sensation in that hip or even in your inner thigh. Close your eyes wherever you are. next breath, straightening your right leg, bringing it back to center. And then coming onto your right cheek, so the opposite cheek. This time we'll bring our left knee in toward our left elbow. Coming back to the breath here. Good, and on your next breath, straightening your left leg. And just resting for a moment. And on your next inhale, very slowly pressing yourself up back into a tabletop position. Good. Really nice slow movements, everyone. Good. So for our next pose, we're going to come into frog pose. So for frog, we're going to keep our big toes together and bring our knees apart, similar to how we did in child's pose. The main difference is we're going to hold our hips up in the air. So the goal is to keep your hips in line with your knees. And then we're going to forward fold, bringing our forehead onto the mat. So if you need to come sideways on your mat to pad your knees, or if you need to use like a blanket or something to pad your knees, that's fine. So just noticing what feels good for you. Finding your edge in the pose, so finding something you will be able to hold for a few minutes. Alternatively, if for some reason you need to use a pillow or cushion on your forehead or even on your chest, feel free to do that. And you may feel this once again in your hips, your inner thighs, maybe even in your arms. Breathe into the sensations that you're feeling. And again, these poses are definitely intense. These types of poses will certainly help us learn patience. And the idea being, when we focus within, when we focus on these poses, it helps us learn something about ourselves, even on the mat. And these are things we can take with us off the mat as well. I mentioned patience just as one example, but there's certainly other things as well. Notice if the sensations have changed in your body at all. And if they have, just notice what that feels like for you. Remembering dull aches are totally fine, but if you ever feel sharp pain, that's a reason to move out of the pose. And also remembering if you have to move, that's fine. I just ask you to do so very slowly. We'll go ahead and take 5 deep breaths to complete the pose. After you've completed your 5th breath, very slowly walk your palms towards you, making your way up to a straight spine. And we'll sit back on our shins, if that's comfortable for you. If you need to find another seated position, that's fine too. And we'll just hold here for a moment. Placing your palms on your thighs. And just noticing what's happening in your body as we've come out of the pose. That one was definitely intense for me. So just noticing what it was like for you. Again, it'll be a little different for all of us. Good. I just want to make sure for Lara, Vivian, how is it going okay? Thumbs up, medium thumbs down. All right, good. I just want to check in. Yes, for Mariel. And your friend, who I don't know your name, but hello. Good. All right, so since we are in the perfect place for intense toe stretch, we're going to do that. So for what we'll actually do is we'll move forward into a tabletop position. Curl your toes under. And from here, very slowly walk your palms back to sit on your heels and your shins. Now, this might be very intense. That's what we're going for. If you really need to, you can always come up to stand on your shins. Otherwise, if this is accessible to sit on your heels, then it's a great way to access this pose. We won't be here for quite as long, but we will be here for several breaths. So in this stretch, we are accessing all meridians of the body. It's also just an area we probably don't stretch that much, so you definitely will feel it. So I'll try to give us some other things to focus our minds on. So let's just take a few minutes into our wrists again. We'll just roll our wrists, make fists, and then roll your wrists in one direction. Since we're on our phones and computers a lot these days, the wrists, I think, always need some extra love. Good, and then we'll switch directions. And again, I know the sensation might be intense. Good, let's bring one arm over our chest. Breathing deeply here to try to get all that oxygen into our toes. And let's switch arms. Good. Let's take our palms and we're gonna stick it under our armpits. We're gonna kind of create chicken arms here. So our palms are underneath. Good, it's kind of an intense wrist stretch. We'll hold here for a couple more breaths. Good, and we'll slowly release our palms down towards the mat, leaning forward. Release your toes off the mat, try not to move them. Feel the fluid rushing into your toes, the water. Good. And then start to bring gentle movements into your toes. If you want, you can tap into the tops of your feet. Good. And then we'll slowly sit back on our feet. Good. That was great. So a lot of these poses are also aimed to help with joint mobility. And I always, when I think of yin yoga, sometimes I think of how the elderly oftentimes are like very hunched over, and they end up being that way because their body has kind of conformed to that. And so a lot of what we're doing is trying to ease ourselves out of conforming to bad posture and basically bringing fluid and energy to our bodies. Great. All right, so from here, let's stand up. And from standing, bringing your feet hips width distance apart, taking a moment to ground into your feet a little bit, noticing how they feel in the mat and in the earth. From here, we're going to slowly forward fold. You can bend at your knees. You can have like a micro bend, or if you need to bend them even more, that's totally fine. So we're just dangling our arms forward in our fold, making sure your neck isn't torqued in one direction or another, so you can just play around with nodding your head and shaking your head, finding a good place for your neck, and just noticing it's totally fine wherever your palms are. They don't need to be touching the ground. And let's interlace our palms and our elbows. And let's sway side to side for ragdoll pose. This helps extend in the lower back. Stretch it out. Find relief. And then when you're ready, we're just gonna dangle in center. You can keep your palms and elbows interlaced here. Micro bends in your knees are totally okay. You will likely feel some stretch in the back of your legs. You may even feel some stretch in your lower back. If you're not feeling much, then slowly straightening your legs a little bit. Or you can release your palms towards the mat if you want to feel more. We will hold here for a few breaths. Once again, even in this pose, just noticing if you're gripping in any parts of your body. Are you holding on to anything? And if you are, just trying to let go. Coming back to the breath. And just noticing the sensations in your body in this moment. Maybe closing your eyes if you aren't already. Good. Whenever you're ready, on an inhale, we'll just come up to a straight spine very slowly with your arms dangling in front of you, just one vertebrae at a time. Slowly bring yourself up to stand. If you need to bend into your knees, that's totally fine. If that helps balance. And your head is the last thing to reach center and standing position. Good. All right. And from here, we're going to bring our feet a little bit more than hips width distance. Once again, grounding into the mat. And let's bring our arms on an inhale above our head. And exhale, bringing your palms to heart center. Good. From here, we're going to sit back into a squat pose very slowly. So just sitting back, almost as if you're trying to sit into a chair, but then we're coming all the way down here. Good. If for some reason you need a cushion underneath, that's totally fine. Or if you need to sit a bit higher in your squat, it might be more intense, but you're welcome to do that. But our sit bone is technically up in the air here, and let's press our elbows into our inner thighs. This will help open up your hips even more. So once again, we have another hip stretch. Our palms are at heart center. And let's take a few breaths here with our eyes closed. If you'd like to take that Samavriti Pranayama, same count, you're welcome to do that. Finding whatever count works best for you. adjustment. Let's go ahead and take 5 more deep breaths here. Remembering to take your time. Good. After you've completed your 5th breath, we'll simply just sit back onto our sits bones, slowly bringing your legs in front of you on your mat. And we'll just hold with your palms on your thighs here for a moment. Good. Alrighty, and from here we're slowly going to make our way onto our backs. If you do want to just look over at what I'm doing, I'll just quickly show you the next pose and then I'll walk us through what we're going to do. So in this next pose, we're going to start off coming over to our right side. So my right arm is out in a T. I come onto my right side. I actually might need to bring my arm to support my head. I'm going to then bring my left knee up toward my right elbow. And with the right leg, I'm going to bend my foot in toward me, and I'm going to grab that foot with my left palm. I'm trying to straighten that left thigh, so it's in one line with my hip. So I'm going to explain all of that too. This is called cat pulling the tail. So we start off from our backs, and then bringing your right arm above towards your head, come onto your right side, and then using your palm to support your head for just a moment, we're going to take that left leg that's on top and bend at the left knee towards the right side. So we're bending that top knee in towards us. And then I'm going to bend my right foot and grab my right foot with my left palm. Once I'm there, if you'd like, you can just rest your head on your arm. Just gonna make sure everyone looks good here. Yeah. Looking good. So there's a few things going on in this pose. It's kind of a mouthful to get into, but it's a cool one because we're doing a bit of a twist, and we're also working into our quads, so you may feel sensation at the tops of your thighs, your quad area. You might also feel something in your hips here. Regardless, just making note, if you're feeling it, you're doing it. Wherever you are, closing your eyes and coming back to the breath.
Go ahead and take 5 more deep breaths here. After you've completed your 5th breath, let go of your foot with your left hand. Slowly bring yourself onto that right side. And then very slowly coming onto your backs. Resting your arms on either side, just for a mini Shavasana. Good. We'll make our way onto the opposite side. So this time bringing your left arm above your head. Make your way onto your left side. If you want to rest your head in your palm, it's totally fine. We'll then bend our right knee toward the left. Good. And then we bring our left foot towards your sit bones, and then we're using our right palm to grab our left foot. Good. If you want to use your arm as a pillow here, you can go for it. Good. Really nice from what I'm seeing. Just noticing it might feel completely different on this side than your previous side. That's totally normal, since our bodies aren't symmetric. Noticing if the sensations are different. And just making note of that for yourself. Good. Really nice stillness. We'll go ahead and take 5 more deep breaths here. After you've completed your 5th breath, we'll let go of the foot, releasing your left leg long, and then coming onto your left side just for a moment. And then slowly making your way onto your back. Holding for a mini Shavasana. Allowing the body to adjust. From here, bending your knees in towards your chest, give yourself a nice big hug. Rolling on your spine from side to side. Good, and from here we make our way to Happy Baby. Bringing your feet towards the ceiling, reaching for your shins, your ankles, or the outside edges of your feet. If you want, you can roll side to side, or you can hold. We'll go ahead and take 3 more breaths in Happy Baby. If you want, you can continue rolling on your spine, or you can sit in stillness. And after that 3rd breath, releasing your feet and legs long, your arms by your side. For our final pose, Shavasana, allowing yourself to flop your feet out, opening your palms, taking up as much space as you'd like. Take these last few moments to focus within, focusing on the breath, feeling your body as it sinks into the earth. Good. From here, take a deep inhale and exhale. Start to bring gentle movements in your fingers and your toes. If you want, you can move your head from side to side. Whenever you're ready, bring yourself onto one side. And then very slowly up to a seated position, keeping your eyes closed. Good. Bringing your palms to heart center. Let's go ahead and take 3 breaths together as a community. First, exhaling everything out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And last time, inhale. And exhale. Good. Taking a moment to bow toward one another.